welcome back to the second episode of the Welcome to the J podcast, hosted by me, Jahenns Manigat, the former Creighton Blue Jay, Canadian Rebel, for those of you that remember. We have here a very, very special guest from Ames, Iowa, a consensus National Player of the Year, a three-time consensus first-team All-American, two-time Lute Olson Award winner, two-time MVC Player of the Year, Big East Player of the Year, three-time first-team All-MVC, first team All Big East, MVC All Freshman Team, MVC Freshman of the Year, and Newcomer of the Year, NCAA scoring leader for the 13-14 season, fifth all-time in NCAA scoring history with 3,150 points. Mr. 3000 himself, Mr. McBuckets, Douglas Richard McDermott is on with us. Welcome to the J, Doug.
Thanks, Jay. It's an honor.
It's good to see you, brother.
I'm honored to be here. After Raggi, man, it's a tough guy to follow.
No, for sure, 100%. Like Ethan Raggi really kicked us off into a really good space. So I hope that you have the ability to follow up here. How have you been? How are things on your end for you in Indiana right now?
Good, man. Just getting underway with our team. You know, we're 5-2 off to a good start. I think we're 5-2. Yeah, we just had a tough win, hard-fought win last night in New Orleans. So yeah, it's been going well, man. We got everyone back pretty much. So, we're having fun with it. It's a weird year without the fans and everything, but, it's been a lot of fun just to be able to play basketball. We're all really thankful just to be able to have something.
100%. You know, you just mentioned, your inability to play with the fans due to COVID-19 and all that stuff that's going on right now. You were a part of the bubble last year. You had NBA players like Paul George who talked about, you know, the mental difficulties that kind of came with that, being away from family, from friends for an extended amount of time. Your team made it to the playoffs, not the result that you wanted. You know, a tough Miami Heat team that obviously went to the finals, got the best of you. Talk about your experience just being in a bubble, being in that environment with those NBA stars, and just literally like not having the access to everything that you would probably want to have access to.
Yeah, it was weird, man. It was very strange, you know. It kind of felt like an AAU tournament with NBA players. I mean, yeah. You just walk down the hall and you see Luka, you see LeBron, you see AD, you see all these stars every day, sitting by the pool with all these guys. And, you know, for me, if I didn't have golf, it would have been really tough. I played golf pretty much every single morning.
I saw you out there. You were posting it every time that you're out there, I think with McConnell mostly, yeah?
Yeah, I played golf every morning. Tried not to be with McConnell because he couldn't hit the damn ball anywhere. You got a better swing than him, Jay. And but I ended up finding Garrett Temple was a really good player. He plays with the Bulls now, and then played with J.R. Smith a few times, and he was really good. But me and Kyle were trying to play a lot, but we didn't have our schedules didn't really match up. But back to what PG said, it was tough being away from our families and just you know, not really having anywhere to go. Like you couldn't leave the property, so it definitely wore on you a little bit. And I think our team, it kind of showed in the playoffs. I think we just kind of, you know, just didn't seem like, you know, we just weren't clicking because you just couldn't really do stuff as a team outside of stuff that all the protocols were tough. So it was really hard to kind of mesh down there.
Yeah, 100%. So you guys had an extended break. How tough was it for a player like yourself? You know, you're a rhythm guy. Once you get a couple of games under your belt, you're good to go. But how tough was it to go from about, I think, 3-month layoff to all of a sudden you guys are in Orlando having a mini training camp before a few games, and then it's playoff time like the next time that you guys play? How tough was it for you to get adjusted to that kind of new environment?
Yeah, it was tough because, you know, this whole time, the whole break, it kind of felt like the season didn't seem like it was going to happen. So, you know, I was working out every day, like not at Creighton, but in Omaha. With, you know, Coach Lusk and Coach Jeremy, their strength coach there now at Creighton. So I had a chance to really prepare myself, but somewhat in the back of my mind, I'm like, is this really even going to happen? So, you know, when you're training like that, it just kind of, your motivation isn't quite there. But I mean, I was still working my tail off. And you can't simulate a game, you know, you can't just jump into NBA games without playing any 5-on-5. And, you know, we just didn't have a whole lot of time to really prepare for it because when we were here training before the bubble, we could only work out with one coach and he had to have a mask on. You couldn't play any 2-on-2, 3-on-3. So it was just really hard to get a rhythm. And I'm glad that that's behind us. And now that we can actually play real games and, play in real arenas. So that's been great so far.
Yeah. The crazy thing about basketball is that like it's one of the few sports where you really have to play it to get into basketball shape. Like I don't know how it is with most other sports, but if you don't play 5-on-5 and you don't go up and down a ton, it's really easy to kind of get out of that shape that you're used to, you know?
It really is, and I think like you can run as many suicides, you can do full court shooting, you can shoot on the gun, you
Yeah.
can do anything to get you prepared, but there's nothing like playing 5-on-5 to get your rhythm, your timing. You're not used to like a contest being in your eye. When we shoot wide open threes, we're not going to miss,
Right.
So it's different when you have long athletic guys contesting your shots and just trying to figure out the timing and everything. So that definitely made it challenging. And I'm still kind of finding that right now just because we're just getting in the swing of things. It didn't really have a very long preseason. So this has kind of been like the preseason, getting my legs under me.
And
For the
that's
rest
where
of
I
the
wanted
year.
to go next with you. So you have the playoffs, and then you have like a way shortened or off season, I should say, than you're used to. Has it been difficult to just kind of get back into the swing of things?
It has. I think our new coach Nate Bjorkgren, who came from Toronto, your Raptors. He's been great, man. He's doing a good job of just managing our bodies, not being too tough, but just we all feel pretty fresh out there right now. And I think for me as a shooter, just getting those extra reps in is huge. And I've been just working my tail off to try to do that. But it's been a good start. It's been a good start. I know the best is yet to come for our team. We're still clicking and learning the new system, and I think we can be really dangerous once we all come together.
It's funny that you mentioned your head coach comes from the Raptors program. I swear, every time I see you play in Toronto, you have a really good game. You had a great one when you're a member of the Knicks. I think you had another really good one when you're a member of the Dallas Mavericks. Is there something about that arena specifically that you like? Because it seems like every time you're up in Toronto, you light it up.
I don't know, man. I think it's having your family in the stands.
100%.
I,
My cousin Carl, every time he knows that
yeah,
you're coming to town, man, he's so happy because he knows he'll get a ticket
I
or
always
two.
got Carl. I always got Carl there supporting, and I don't know,
Yeah.
just some about the people there. It's just good vibes in Toronto. Honestly, the crowd are awesome, so diverse, and just you just really appreciate basketball. They really appreciate basketball there, and maybe it's that Canadian anthem that we have to listen to, before we play. That's what gets
Maybe.
me going. And
Maybe.
Nate,
Well,
like I
see,
said, Nate.
senior night they played the Canadian anthem for me, and you passed 3,000 points. So maybe there is something to it.
I think it is, man. Maybe I should start playing that before every game now on my Spotify. Maybe that'll get me going.
Right. So let's get back to the beginning of things. You're born in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Coach Mack, obviously with his coaching career, has to move from spot to spot. You go from North Dakota to Wayne State to NDSU, UNI, Iowa State, and then up at Creighton. How tough was it for you as a kid growing up? Having spent a couple of years here and there, and then next thing you have to pick up everything and moving to a new location, meeting new friends. How difficult was that for you?
It was tough, but looking back, it prepared me for my NBA career. Having to move so much. So it's one of those deals where being a coach's kid was tough, because he's grinding from the D2 ranks to try and work his way up to where he is now, and that came with some sacrifices. Me and my brother and my sister had to adjust to new living situations, new neighbors, new classmates, and it was tough. I mean, it's tough, but also looking back, I wouldn't want to change it any other way because I met so many people on the years, and it's definitely prepared for me for what's happened in my NBA career. I've gotten traded and signed with new teams, so just being able to adjust to new locker rooms, new personalities, and but yeah, it was definitely fun looking back. I had a lot of different driveways to shoot on, growing up.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, like for sure, it's a positive for you now that, this is your livelihood, this is your job. You have to go from city to city, sometimes from team to team. So I could definitely see how that could be a positive for you growing up. You end up in Ames, Iowa, for your high school career. Ames High, I heard is the motto over there.
Yeah.
You play on arguably one of the best Iowa high school teams of all time. Obviously, your team was Harrison Barnes. I think you guys went undefeated your junior and senior season. Talk about that experience a little bit, how it was to play obviously with such a great high school talent like Harrison, and then just, going undefeated for 2 years. Not a lot of people can say that at any point in their lives. So how was that like for you?
It was crazy, man, because I was such an under the radar guy. I didn't really develop till I was like a junior in high school anyway. So I didn't play varsity till my junior year. So I always give my coach shit because they didn't go undefeated. They didn't go undefeated those previous 2 years. And then once I joined varsity, I didn't lose. So it was definitely me. It was definitely me and not Harrison. But it was so much fun, man. Some of my favorite basketball memories just going into those small, high school Iowa arenas and having it sold out and people wanting to take selfies with us. We're just high school kids. It was really cool. We were rock stars there in Iowa, and there's been a lot of good teams that come through the state of Iowa, and to be the best is pretty special. I think just having two guys like me and Harrison, don't let D-Rock, don't let Tucker talk you into Waukee being better than us. Because
no, arguably. Go ahead.
No, you could have just said the best. You don't have to say arguably. Yeah. We're the best. We're the best, and
that's exactly where I was going. I said arguably the best. You jumped right into it. You said you're the best. So in your mind, you're 100% the best Iowa high school team ever.
100%. We can line them up right now. We'll play anywhere, anytime. And it's not just Harrison. It's Mike Weber, James Kohler, Riley Stuvey, and we had a great team. A lot of good athletes, and it was just such a blast, man. Such a blast. I don't think we lost a game by more than. I think we won every game by double digits. So it was pretty crazy.
You mentioned that you were kind of an under the radar guy. How often did you use that as motivation to just keep working on your game and kind of elevating your status, maybe through the high school ranks?
It was huge. It was huge because all these big time coaches were coming to our gym every single day recruiting Harrison, my dad included. So it was one of those deals where you see Coach K, Coach Self pulling up in black SUVs, Roy Williams, Billy Donovan, and no one ever gave me any interest really. It was just kind of like, all right, this Harrison kid's really good, and I knew I probably wasn't a high major player at that point in my career, but I definitely used that as motivation. Just seeing those guys kind of overlook me every single day they were watching us, and I think that really propelled me to have a good college career because I never really forgot that. I always remembered that people don't think you're good enough. So I think that just really pushed me and motivated me to do what I did.
Yeah. Where was I here? So we're in your high school career. It's coming to a close. You originally committed to UNI, and what was it about that program that really had you feel like that was the place for you at the time?
Just the familiar, like just having that family atmosphere with Coach Jake. Obviously growing up with him, he was one of my dad's assistants for a really long time, and he's basically like an uncle to me. We go up to his lake house all the time when we were younger, and really close with their family. We still are to this day. And just the Sweet 16 run they went on, the Farouk Maness shot, just
legendary shot.
Yeah, those guys were my hosts and stuff. So it was really fun just to be around them. I just felt like I fit in right away. I mean, I took a couple other visits, but UNI just felt like the spot for me. And I obviously am glad that what happened. But there's no bad blood there. I know some people feel that way, but it's an unbelievable school. UNI is, and I wish them the best, going forward.
And that's what I want to talk to you about a little bit as well. You mentioned obviously like how familiar things were for you. Your father had coached there. Coach Jake was still there, and he was the one that was recruiting you. All of a sudden, Coach Matt gets the CU gig, and he's like, Doug, I want you to come with me. How difficult was it for you to talk to UNI and let him know, look, I want to go with my father to Creighton, as opposed to, holding up my end of the deal and being a Panther?
Yeah, it was the toughest phone call of my life, to be honest. And I was trying to make my dad make the call. I was too scared to call Jake. I was way too scared. I think I gave it I sat there for 2 hours just prepping for what I was going to say. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably told this to people before, but that night I was actually like senior week in high school. So I was at like a friend's house down the road. We're through like a high school party, doing what high school kids do. And my dad calls me and is like, "Hey, you gotta get home." I'm like, "No, it's not my curfew yet. I'm staying here." He said, "No, you have to come home."
Right.
I'm like, what did I do? Did he find
Yeah.
some, like, so I went home and I could just tell right away that something was going on. And, he told me the news that he talked with Rass, Creighton's AD. And we kind of just decided that night that we were going to do it. And then next step, called Coach Jake. And he was actually very understanding, and that's why I respect him so much. That's why he's still family to us. He took it really well. And I think if his sons wanted to play for him someday, that's what he would do, as well as, grant them that eligibility. And, it was a really class move by him, first class move.
Before we get into the start of your Creighton career, let's talk about this year's team a little bit. Obviously, you're a former Blue Jay. You're now a Blue Jay fan. Your father's still coaching there, Coach Mack, one of the greatest Creighton coaches in history already, and he just keeps moving. I think only Coach Allman is the only guy he needs to catch at this point. So now that you're a fan, how do you feel about this year's team? What have you seen from them that kind of gives you hopes for them moving forward?
I just think they're so tough down the stretch. I think they definitely give us a little anxiety sometimes in these games, because it seems like they're in control of them, and then some weird stuff happens, but they're finishing them. So that's all that matters, is the win. You know that, and you know how hard it is to win in this league, especially on the road. And I really like their team, man, with Marcus and Mitch's leadership. And then I think my favorite player right now is Damian
100%.
Jefferson. I just love the way he plays. He's kind of a glue guy in a way, like you and Grant were for us. Just his toughness, his energy, and it just always seems like he makes the right play. And you got to give the staff so much credit for developing him and how much better he's gotten through the years. And then obviously Denzel being able to shoot from anywhere. I mean, they're deep, man. Christian, Ryan, Sharif, the way he's pressuring. Just a fun team to watch, man. I think it's one of the best Creighton will ever see. And, we got to enjoy it because they're special.
Yeah. You know how it is. Obviously, Big East on the road is never easy. We went 16-0 at home our senior year, but we lost 4 games in the Big East on the road. So it's tough for sure. The 2 games that they struggled at against UConn on the road and Providence this past Saturday, right? Was it on the road as well? So you give up 1 layup on one end, and then Christian has the dunk on the other end to win the game. So I have high hopes for this team too.
Yeah.
I see him going really far. I see him finally doing what we couldn't do with our group of guys, making it past the first weekend and having a Sweet 16, Elite 8 kind of bid. How far do you think they'll go? What's your opinion on how far they could go this year?
I don't want to say it, but I think they can get there, man. I think they can. I think they can go far, man. I don't want to say Sweet 16 or Elite 8. I don't want to jinx anything, but this team is built for that, because with our teams, we just weren't the best defensively at the end of the day. I think we relied on getting hot from the 3-point line and scoring, and they're finding ways to win without scoring or shooting the ball well. So I think that's the sign of a really good team, and a team that can go far is a team that doesn't have to rely on hitting, 15, 20 threes to win the game. They can have some off shooting nights, and they can still, find a way to win down in crunch time because they're so good defensively and forcing turnovers. And I think that's the big difference between, our teams and their teams.
And the NCAA just announced that all the games are going to be in Indiana through various different facilities. So, Doug McDermott, what are the odds that you sneak into those games that we're ultimately going to be a part of?
I would love that, but I'm sure I'm sure they're going to make sure we're on the road during that time.
Oh yeah,
because they'll probably be using our facility. But that would be sick, man. If we could make like a deep run and be able to sneak into Lucas Oil or Bankers Life to watch them, I would love that. But I'm not hosting any parties over here. We gotta stay COVID. We gotta stay COVID free if I want to
socially distance.
Finish the season.
I will say this, and that's one of the things that I miss about being overseas during the whole season. Like I've seen you and other former Blue Jays go to games and actually have that fan experience of being at Shinehouse Center Arena, looking down at watching the boys play and like actually having that fan experience. It's not something that I have a chance to experience yet, but one day I'll be able to go back home and make
we'll
it
be back.
happen.
Hey, I haven't been back in like 5 or 6 years, so someday we'll get our moment, Jay. We'll be back.
So now that you're an NBA player, you've gone through a bunch of different experiences. Do you ever have a chance to talk to Coach Mack about strategy and things that he might be able to implement on his coaching on the coaching side of the game? Like, does he ever ask you for advice, or do you ever just step in and say, "Hey, big guy, maybe you could run this or that, and this is something that we do, maybe it'll work for us"?
Yeah, he watches a ton of my games, obviously, and he'll steal some plays for sure. Not just the stuff that we're running, but other teams. I think every once in a while he'll just be like, "Hey, what was that play you guys ran? Like, how did you set that up?" And I'll walk him through it, on the phone. And he's added a ton of that stuff for like his shooters, for Mitch and guys like that, Marcus, just to get them easy looks from the three, because these head coaches in the NBA are just really good at ATOs, drawing up sets to get guys shots. So he's definitely used it. And the defense is a little different in the NBA because of the 3-second rule. So he can't really put all that kind of stuff in, but offensively, he's definitely taken a lot of
I was talking to
sets.
Ethan about this the other day too, how Coach Mack is a genius with his X's and O's. I said that you'd be hard pressed to find 3 better coaches in the NCAA, like through the entire 365 some schools playing Division I basketball, who are better than him at X's and O's, out of bounce situations, after timeout situations. I noticed after last year's team, he would run a set, and then like you'd watch an NBA game, and that would be like the first 2 or 3 scripted sets from those particular teams. How impressed have you been with your father's ability to continuously come up with new things depending on the roster and all that? Like, he must be very diligent in order to come up with new sets and new situations to put his best players in.
Yeah, he's done a really good job throughout his career of adapting. And I've always thought he's the best coach I've played for, not just because he's my dad, but just his feel, when to get guys going, certain plays, what they like to do. And it really hit me like probably a month ago or so. I'm in the locker room with the Pacers, and you got Edmund Sumner, who played at Xavier. You got Keelan Martin, who played at Butler. You got Jakar, who played at St. John's. And they're all telling me, man, Creighton was the hardest team to play against. Like, your dad has so much shit. Your dad has so much shit. Like, he throws a bunch of different stuff at us. He knows exactly how to guard us. He knows who not to guard. Like, they always tell me like his game plans are the hardest to prepare for. So that's when it kind of hit me, when I realized like how good him and his staff are really at getting his guys ready to play.
Since you mentioned it, a bunch of former Big East guys who are on your team right now, there's a question I was going to ask you later, but you kind of brought it up, so I want to ask you now. You've been in NBA for a while now. You've had to be teammates with guys who you were competing against at the collegiate level. I think even Ron Baker was your teammate at one point in New York, right? If I'm not mistaken. How weird has it been to like step into a locker room and seeing guys that used to compete against and go at, and next thing you know, you guys have to be on the same team, headed toward the same goal? Because I know for me, a couple of years ago, I played with D. Davis from Xavier. It took me like 3 weeks to realize he's actually on my side this time around. So how has that been for you?
Yeah, it's strange. It's definitely kind of elephant in the room a little bit for the first couple of weeks or so. But eventually you click with them. But it took me a while to really take Ron Baker seriously after all those battles with Wichita, man. We gave each other so much shit throughout the course of the year, and always kind of betting on Creighton versus Wichita, and he ended up being one of my favorite teammates. So it's hard to admit, but that guy, he's a great guy, and I hope he gets better. I think he's hurt right now, and he's going to try and go back and make a career for himself.
All right, let's get back to your Creighton days. You're an incoming freshman. You're told that you're going to play at the 4 spot. And at that time, that 4 spot was loaded. In front of you was Casey Herman, Ethan Rogge, Wayne Reynolds. I know you're a competitive guy, but I found for myself freshman year, especially with two-a-days and all that stuff, it was kind of an intimidating experience. How did you find, a way to challenge those guys every day in practice, and then eventually kind of surpass him and be the lead dog that we needed for that team?
Yeah, it was one of those deals where, we were working our tail off that summer, and my body wasn't quite there. I didn't feel like I was quite physical enough to be able to. In my mind, I thought I could, but the coaches were like, "We might have to redshirt, yeah, yada yada yada," and I was like, "You're crazy." And it took. I mean, unfortunately, Ethan and Casey got hurt. You never wish that upon anyone, but it opened up the door for guys like me and you, and it's hard to imagine what we did would have been possible if it weren't for our early career success. Me and you playing as freshmen. I think it just gives you all the confidence in the world, knowing that you can belong out there. We took some tough losses, some growing pains for sure, a lot of close losses that freshman year. But I think it got that chip on our shoulder, and it just woke us up a little bit, and we were able to use that as motivation, going forward in the next 2 years, winning the Valley and going to the Big East and being successful there. So I think that early success was huge.
Yeah. Speak on that senior year or that freshman year senior class for us. Kenny Lawson, Daryl Asher, Wayne Reynolds, Caleb Corver, and Casey Harriman. I know personally for myself, those guys, like a guy like Daryl, who I got the starting spot over, was still encouraging me every day in practice. He was giving me tips and pointers to try and get better. Speak on their leadership and how it helped you become the player that you were at that point in time in your life.
They were huge, man. I mean, Caleb and Casey, Wayne, Daryl, like you said, Kenny, just they could have easily not helped us, being Coach Altman's recruits and seeing a new guy come in, probably going to change some things up with the culture. And, they welcomed us with open arms, and they didn't take anything personal. They just wanted to help our careers. And that's why, I love those guys. We still talk to them a bunch to this day. I heard from pretty much all of them on my birthday. So just guys that I'll always be in touch with. I'm sure you will be too. And just their leadership that year was huge. We had some really tough practices. If you remember, they could have easily called it quits or thrown the towel, but they didn't. They never showed any quit in their face, and they just kept grinding. And I think it helped propel us to where we ended up being.
Yeah. So you mentioned, we had a bunch of top losses freshman year. We end up losing in the semifinals of the NBC tournament. We take a bid for the CBI. We actually have a pretty deep run. We end up losing to Oregon and Coach Altman in a best-of-3 series, 2-1. What did that experience mean to you as far as us kind of prolonging that freshman year? A year where we had to learn a bunch in order to become the players that we were. What did that experience in the CBI run mean to you?
Oh, it's huge, man. I think we were all like at first a little like, I don't know if we want to play anymore. Like, let's just get this over with. And, I think that's when they kind of changed their style on us. We started getting up and down, shooting a lot of threes and playing faster. And we ended up having a great experience out of it. That obviously the Oregon finish, every time I see a point guard near half court, I get like the chill. Like I get anxious after what happened to us with Antoine at Oregon. So it was a good experience, though. I think if that didn't happen, I don't think we would have had that good of a year our second year, because I think we were able to get confidence from that, playing those extra games. I think we played more games than like the national title team played that year. We were playing the day after the national title, so it was definitely worth it, I would say.
So the following summer, we have a Bahamas trip, which I think was extremely important in the bonding and the forming of the culture that we ended up having for the rest of the years that we were there. Talk about that trip, what it meant for our team, maybe a favorite moment of yours from the trip, and how much you enjoy Club Hurricane, which we all did.
Yeah, that's the first thing I was going to say was Club Hurricane. I don't really remember too much. I don't remember too much basketball. I couldn't tell you who we played.
Right.
That was a vacation. I remember Club Hurricane and being a little blurry by the beach late night and trying to talk Derek Sebastian into swimming as far out as he could.
Yeah.
I remember we were all putting bets on how far he could make it, and everyone was getting a little freaked out, so he didn't do it. But Club Hurricane was definitely we'll be back there someday.
Yeah, for sure. I remember
if it's still around. If it's still around, it might have closed down after we showed up.
Yeah, I remember Coach Mack being like, "Look, we're going to be in the piano lounge. We don't want to see any of you guys in the piano lounge. Like the rest of the resort is for you. Don't anybody go into the piano lounge." And like that was kind of our thing, is that we would just not run into them too much, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
for sure.
blast.
So in the NBA that year, that was the first year that LeBron joined the Miami Heat. They lose to Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, Dirk has that patented shot. Not a lot of us had seen it before. You come back sophomore year and it's in your bag now. It's one of your go-to moves, and you kind of abuse a lot of defenders for the next 3 years, you know, backing them down a little bit, lifting your leg, and then that little Dirk shot over them. Where did you, well, obviously we know where you saw that, but like, when did you decide like, oh, this is a part of my game that I could certainly add? And how much work did you have to put into it for it to become a shot that you were very comfortable taking?
Yeah, I mean, it was I remember that summer and watching the finals. You know, I had gotten invited to play in that USA deal, that U19 thing, and I was really training my ass off that summer with Brian Hoffman out in Gretna, and you know, just watching the finals, it's like, why can't I do this? I know Dirk's 7 feet, but you know, I feel like I have the skill and the touch and the timing to be able to make that shot. And once I started doing it and making it, the coaches believed in it, and they just let me do it. And I think it's just huge when you're playing against longer athletic guys who maybe you can't get around or bang around with as much in the post. I think it's huge to your advantage because you can create so much more space, and just super hard to guard. And gotta give Dirk credit for changing the game with that shot, because now you see a lot of people doing it.
Yeah, like every other guy feels like they could make that shot now. I see guards driving, putting their shoulder down and kind of leaning in and then leaning back for that shot. So for that to be a shot that you put into your arsenal so early on, I mean, Dirk was very revolutionary and showing everybody that they could do it too.
He really was, for sure. And I think the NBA now more so is a little more analytical. So that'd be a bad shot now. But now I'm just trying to get as many dunks and as many threes as I possibly can.
Yeah, you had a really nice one last night too. And I see you trapping, picking up full court and stuff, forcing that turnover that got that Turner 3 to tie the game anyways. So
you know,
the NBA changed you, bro. You play defense and you dunk now. What happened?
I finished games too. I close it out with stops.
Yeah.
So
That's
awesome. Funny.
So sophomore year, we finally get over the hump. We come in second in the NBC regular season, but we do win the NBC tournament championship. It was the first time, I think, in 6 years during that time that Creighton went back to the tournament. Obviously, we had a lot of fun with it. We beat Alabama in the first round. And then the NCAA decides to match us up in North Carolina versus North Carolina and your ex-teammate, Harrison Barnes. You already talked about, you know, how weird it is to, you know, be teammates with some guys that you were opponents to before. How weird was it going at Harrison Barnes now being on the other side of it where you guys were teammates before?
Yeah, it was strange, man, because just you could tell that it may have been set up a little bit.
Major setup. We all called it out as soon as we saw it too on Selection Sunday.
So, yeah, it was definitely a little bit to do with it, but it was super cool. You know, it was just really weird because, you know, we had so many good memories together, and just to be able to share that floor with him was crazy on that stage. And then fast forward even further, playing on the same team with him in the NBA for the Mavs for a little bit. Just the experiences that we have been able to share together. Looking back someday, it'll be really cool.
I feel like you guys are forever going to be linked in that way, you know, being teammates, going at each other, being teammates again, and then going at each other once more, you know. So obviously you guys are still friends. I'm assuming you guys still talk a bunch. What has been some of the things that he's told you about his experiences bouncing from team to team? Because you guys also share that as well.
Yeah, he's got the ring. I'm missing
That's true.
that.
That's very true.
Yeah, he's told me about that and just what it was like to play with the Warriors. And obviously now he's in Sacramento, and we
Corey
haven't
Joseph,
seen.
what up?
Yeah, Corey Joe. But we actually, another crazy experience I guess we got to do. We played each other in India last year. It was the Pacers versus the Kings, and me and Harrison were over there, and it's like, dang, we come a long way from Ames, Iowa. Here we are in Mumbai, India. So we've touched them all, and it's always fun to play against him, and definitely like to go at him, and I'm sure he likes to go at me too.
Fast forward to junior year, we win the regular season finally. We win the MVC tournament finally. We beat, was it Cincinnati in the first round? And then we ended up facing Duke in Philadelphia. Things didn't go our way. You have a chance after junior year to leave for the NBA. Talk about that process and like what was kind of going through your mind. We all know the story, how you ultimately decided to come back, but how close were you really to like really considering leaving after junior year?
I was close. I mean, it was always a dream of mine to be able to play in the NBA, and I was really, really close. That's why it took so long. I just kept going back and forth because kind of at the beginning of the year, my junior year, I'm like, this could be my last. So I tried to enjoy it as much as I could. And once it really came down to the last second, it really came down to talking with Kyle Korver about it. And he always told me, you can't really put a price tag on your senior year of college. He said, I think you're going to play in the NBA one way or another. So don't rush it, because usually when you're in the NBA, you don't play a whole lot early on anyway. So why not enjoy that final year with your boys and, play in the Big East Conference and experience all that stuff. And that really hit home with me. And then obviously, right when that happened, Gibbs got his final year. Everything kind of fell into place for us. So looking back, it was just God's plan bringing us all back together for one last year, and it all worked out. And it was the best decision I've ever made was to stay in college.
I know for sure the Creighton fans were like 44 points on senior night. He's sending a message. He's out of here. Like I'm sure a lot of people were thinking that too. And then we followed that up with winning the MVC tournament as well. But you spoke about, Grant Gibbs coming back. I don't remember what the timeline looked like, but that was definitely after you decided to return. Am I correct?
It was, yeah. It was a couple weeks after, I think.
Yeah. So talk about kind of like the connection that you and Grant Gibbs had. Obviously, he was instrumental in, getting you some of the looks that you got. He was such a smart player. I know for sure, like for me, from a guard position, he showed me a bunch of different things that, sometimes you hear from the coaches, but hearing it from your peer, hearing it from your teammate, it hits a little bit differently. Talk about Grant Gibbs and yours' connection and how you guys had that two-man game working for so long.
Yeah, we just had a good connection out there, man. It started probably from just knowing each other growing up a little bit. He was a couple years older than me, but we grew up in the same area in Iowa and saw each other all the time at AAU tournaments growing up. I always kind of like idolized him, and he was like kind of a role model to me. And we got a chance to play on Martin Brothers Select, an AAU team in Iowa.
Bros. Another legendary program. I hear about it all the time.
Yeah, you could kind of imagine him being the bully, in the back of the bus to all us young guys. So there was times I wanted to strangle him, but he just had a good connection out there, man. He had such a good feel of just finding you. You know how it is. He could see things before they happen. And with the way I play and the way how I try to move without the ball, he finds a way to get you going. And that's huge for a guy like me. And obviously he's doing big things now in the coaching ranks. And I wouldn't be surprised if he works his way up even more. So really happy for him. And it's good to kind of pick his brain every once in a while.
I was just about to say, obviously, head coach at the OKC Blue now, the G League affiliate for the Thunder. Do you ever have a chance to watch him coach on the sideline? Have you had a chance to go to a game maybe before this whole COVID-19 thing happened?
Yeah, I actually went to one. We were playing the Thunder last year, and they had a game the night before. So I went with Katie, his fiance now, and watched him coach. And it's just weird seeing him coach because you just can't imagine, such a young age too. He's so young, 29 or 30, whatever he is, and having a head coaching job. And I just think his swagger out there is great. He really connects with the guys. I've got close with a few of the guys he's played for, and they just love the way he coaches. And now he's, still doing it, and he's traveling with the Thunder now. He's actually traveling with them till their season starts up, and he's helping out OKC this year.
Yeah, it's so weird that he seems young for a head coach, but when we were playing with him, he was old as hell.
I know, man. It's nuts. It's nuts. We were actually in OKC together. He was over at my house, and we were watching some football or something. And I'm like, dang, this would be crazy, man. We're gonna be able to hang out a bunch. And then literally 24 hours later, I got traded to New York. So I gave him all my gear, and said, all right, man, enjoy it.
Of course. All right, so that's going to bring us to some of our fan questions for today. The first one is Will Eisler. It's a two-part question. As an NBA player, what's your favorite city to play in? And the second part of that question is, what was your favorite college to play in on the road?
Well, I think we kind of brought up the city, NBA, Toronto, probably.
You do actually always light it up. It's actually crazy. Every time I look at the box, it's like Doug at 32. I'm like, whoa, where did this explosion come from?
Yeah, we'll have to see how Tampa treats me this year. But college, I would have to say, man, I enjoyed Wichita. I know it was a tough place to play, but just those rivalries, man, were so cool. Those fans were so nasty, and we definitely lost some close ones at that place, and we won some close ones too. So I would say Wichita, and then in the Big East, I'd probably have to say Villanova.
Madison Square, I would say. Oh, okay, all right. Square. Wells Fargo, yeah.
I'm talking regular season. I'd say, the Garden was sick, obviously, but that Wells Fargo game, after what we did there, it's kind of hard to say anything else.
Our next question comes from Peanut Butter Jenny, and her question is, what's your game day routine now?
Game day routine kind of changes, honestly. With the NBA, last night, today, I guess, we landed at 2:45 a.m. So I didn't get to bed till probably 3:30, and then woke up today and had practice at 1. So it's just a lot of different time changes. But game day wise, I like to try and get up and make myself some breakfast, kind of chill a little bit, hoping the Jays have a day game that I could watch before I take my pregame nap. Then I take a pregame nap, and I try to get some good food in me after that, and play a little Madden or FIFA or something just to get my mind off basketball for a little bit, just relax, and then head over to the arena and just lock in and get ready.
So let's go back to the end of your college career, senior year. Such a memorable year for all of us. When I think about senior year, I honestly, the first thing that I think about all the time is you making that Hezzy 3 at the top of the key against Providence on senior night to put you over 3,000 points. The place erupting, and then I think they went down and scored, and I can remember D-Rock's face getting red as hell because he was mad that we gave up a score, and Coach Mike calls the timeout so that the crowd acknowledges you. That's literally the first thing I think about senior year. What was your favorite memory of that year in particular?
There's so many. Obviously, that moment was very special. I still kind of feel like I blacked out during that moment. I don't really remember it too well. I was just so overwhelming, and it was just the loudest I've ever heard in an arena. So I kind of just blanked out there. So that's definitely up there. I'd say, the crowd chant Sweet Caroline after that. Our senior night, that was really cool. But yeah, honestly, there were so many good memories that year. Obviously didn't end the way we wanted to, but I would say just just that year in a whole, man. It was just, we kind of started this Big East journey for this Creighton team, and to be able to see them cut down the nets last year, I felt like we all had a part in that. And, it's definitely cool for all of us to have a little pride and knowing that we kind of started that for all these guys.
I find it to be a mix of like pride, but also jealousy. Like I was
Yeah.
so happy, I was like almost tearing up, but I was also like, damn, like I wish I was a part of that team right now too. We definitely had a shot at it. We fell just a little bit short in the regular season and in the tournament that year, losing to Providence literally a week later. But no, I know what you mean. Like the feeling of like, damn, this is kind of like something that we had a part of building. It's a really cool feeling to have.
Definitely, man. I still think about it all the time, and just seeing them being number 5 and number 7, and getting top 100 players now, and just from all over the country. It's still a little surreal, Creighton's it's a big time program now, and they're not going away anytime soon. So it's been really fun to follow.
You talked about blacking out when you made that shot. I had a similar experience a few hours after you made that.
So did I. I think we all did.
That senior night, man, wow. Honestly, like it was so awesome. Like obviously, the feeling having everybody's family present. We were all, shooting the shit, hanging out, talking, kind of like enjoying the moment. That's what it's really all about. We have been to so many battles together to kind of all of it come together on this one night where everybody's in the same room. Such an awesome experience, one that I'll never forget for sure.
100%.
All right.
100%.
So you go through the grind of, the NBA draft, preparing for it. You get drafted by the Denver Nuggets. It kind of started the whole McNuggets thing. I don't know if it ever caught on quick enough, because that same night you got traded to the Chicago Bulls. I think it was a much more ideal spot for you, obviously that rookie year. Speak on, the draft night emotions. You're finally in the career that you dreamt about. And then all of a sudden, like, real NBA life hits you, like, oh, word, I'm getting traded immediately. How did that feel? How did that like make you feel? What was like your emotions during that whole entire night? Speak on your experience.
Yeah, it was so cool, man. I mean, just before the draft, literally having no idea really where I was going to end up. It was one of those deals where I was in the green room, but who knows if I would have gone lottery or fallen out of it. So I was kind of like scared I was going to have like one of those Aaron Rodgers or Johnny Football like moments where you are kind of sliding on the board and the cameras are just on you and you're waiting. But thankfully, I didn't have to do that. And I actually knew beforehand, once the Nuggets drafted me, it was already Chicago that picked me. So I never even thought I was going to Denver. So that was cool. I remember seeing your boss, Jeff Goodman, when I was walking off the stage, and he was asking me about Chicago and if it was real, and I told him yes. So I think he kind of let the world know, and it was pretty cool. But I had to stay there forever because it took forever for the trade to finalize. But it was fun just to be able to celebrate with my family afterwards and all my friends that were there. It was just a special night.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I thought Chicago was going to be a better spot for you, that rookie year, you had a ton of veteran players who had been through so many battles. Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler was just getting into his zone. We all know who the type of player that Jimmy Butler is now. Talk about that rookie experience, kind of being, you're kind of allowed to be a rookie in a sense, because you know that those guys were going to teach you, and it was a learning experience, and you didn't have to really like step into a kind of like a bad situation where all eyes were on you and you were the cornerstone that was supposed to shape the entire franchise.
Right. Yeah, that was huge. I learned so much from those guys. Jimmy's work ethic, just Joakim's fire, Kirk Heinrich, Mike Dunleavy, just great vets that I still talk to. And, obviously it didn't go the way I wanted to there. Necessarily, obviously having Fred was great. My second year was able to, establish some rhythm and some confidence, and just he really put me in a great spot. And I learned a lot from Tibbs too. Just work ethic, just showing up on time, doing your job. And, he doesn't really play rookies anyway, so it was kind of a learning year for me. And I happened to be around a lot of good players. So I think if that wouldn't have happened, I don't think I'd still be in the NBA. I think I learned so much from all those guys, and it's fun to look back on.
There's a interview that Jimmy Butler has with Chris Hayes, and he talks about, like the competitive nature of those Bulls practices, which you were a part of that rookie year, especially how guys were going at each other, they were talking to each other, and it kind of shaped him and molded him into the player that he is now, which is why, he's not everybody's cup of tea. What was your kind of interactions with that team? Obviously, you're a rookie coming in, you're expected to make mistakes, but guys are definitely going to let you know about it because they want the betterment of the team to be a very sound defensive team that is also going to take advantage of things offensively.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy is one of those guys that he's gonna tell you how he sees it, and there's no sugarcoating anything. And sometimes that's hard on guys. It's not for everyone. And I think I got really close with him there my first 2 or 3 years, and he let me train with him a little bit in the off season. And I remember he got offered like a $40 million contract or something, and he said no. And I was like, "Are you crazy, man?" He said, "Just watch."
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool. And then fast forward a year later, he's getting 100. So I'm like, This guy is just he's a product. I mean, he's just an example of just hard work, man. He is all work. He's got so much better. And now you see him thriving in Miami, and I'm really happy for Jimmy because he's gone through a lot, in his life, and just to see him being able to have that stage in the finals was really cool. Obviously, at the expense of us, sweeping us was not. I wish that would have happened, obviously. But seeing him, how far he's gone in his career is it's been pretty cool.
Another reason why I thought Chicago was a better fit for you was for my own selfish reasons, being able to drive down every once in a while, catch up with you, see how you're doing. One of my favorite experiences with you is watching you throw that first pitch at the White Sox game right after you got drafted. Was that kind of like your, whoa, I'm really in the NBA, like I'm on the mound at a baseball game throwing the first pitch?
Yeah, that was crazy, man. Obviously, I was so nervous. Like, I was so nervous. I'm like, don't fuck this up. Don't just get it across home plate. Get it across home plate. And I happened to, and that was just so much fun having you guys there. And we had some fun nights in Chicago. That's for sure. That's a great city to be in. Right out of college, and it's such a fun time.
Gregory Shanika was there, Nick was there, your mom, your sister were there, just a bunch of us were there, and I honestly remember being like, Doug, I swear to God, if you don't throw a strike, I thought you were gonna throw it 98 miles an hour straight down the middle for sure.
I remember we were getting the outfit ready. We were trying to coordinate the Jordans with the jersey. We were trying to get the right jeans, and it ended up being pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So you go from Chicago to New York, if I'm not mistaken. So you spoke about, when you came back for senior year, realizing that we were moving to the Big East, how playing in Madison Square was one to accomplish that senior year, but now all of a sudden you're in New York Knicks and it's your home court. What did that feel like, just walking into the Mecca really every day, in such a historic arena, which for us basketball fans and basketball players, it means the world to us. What was it like being a part of that organization for that time? And what were your experiences with it?
Man, it was so much fun, man. I think those are some of my favorite basketball memories was being on the Knicks. Not just because the Garden and all that, but just living in New York City, and the teammates I had there were awesome. It was kind of a random group of guys, but we got along so well. We did everything together. We actually had a pretty good team to start the year, and just Porzingis got hurt. But just being a part of the Knicks, I know they have a bad rep. But it's actually a very good organization. They've had a lot of bad luck, and I obviously wish them the best with Gibbs now. But just walking out on that court, you just never take it for granted. And a lot of times in the NBA, you're kind of tired, and you just got in at 2 or 3 a.m., so you don't have the motivation as much. But when you walk into that floor and see those bright lights with all the crazy Knicks fans chasing after your car after the game, just cool stuff like that. It's unbelievable. I'm so glad I got to experience that.
You're also a part of a pretty historic team. You were Russell Westbrook's teammate the year that you won MVP, triple-double machine. Honestly, I think he's a guy that gets a bad rep from like the media and stuff like that personally. But Talk about just kind of being his teammate during that year, seeing him grind day in and day out, doing what he does and helping secure a playoff spot for OKC in a year after KD leaves.
Man, it was so cool. Like I said, I mean, I was kind of nervous, walking into the locker room with, Mr. Triple Double MVP candidate, and he was just the nicest guy ever. One of the best humans I've ever been around. Just a really good guy, always looking out for you. And got a chance to hang out with him a bunch in the bubble in Orlando, and he's one of my favorite teammates I've had. And we all wanted him to get that record so bad. We were kind of getting out of the way for rebounds, trying to let him get his triple doubles. And, you feel some pressure on those shots when he throws it to you because you want to make it so bad for him. And, I'm so happy for Russ, obviously winning that year on the MVP, and to be a part of that was so cool, man.
Yeah. And then you have a short stint in Dallas. I know Dallas was a city that you really liked. But that following summer, you signed a 3-year deal with the Indiana Pacers, which is a team that you're still a part of. How good did it finally feel to know that you had a home, at the beginning of that contract? You knew, okay, at least for the next 3 years, I could kind of settle in and get my feet wet into one locale, as opposed to your first couple of years in the league where you're bouncing around from Chicago to New York to OKC to Dallas. How good did that contract feel when you finally signed it, knowing that you're going to be a part of an organization for a while?
It felt great, man. Obviously it's tough when you're on your rookie deal. It's a little easier to get traded, and you kind of a shuffling piece, so it felt great. I love the Pacers, man. I loved them growing up. It's an organization that just treats you like a family, and obviously bouncing around was tough, but I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I got to experience all that because I've met so many people. Every time I go to arena or play another team, I always have a former teammate or coach or someone, trainer, because I played on so many teams. So that's been fun. It's just the connections I made. And hopefully when this is all done, my playing career, I wouldn't mean to have all these connections. I think are going to be huge for me.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that literally a week before you signed that deal, we were at College World Series together. I think I was wearing a Reggie Miller jersey, and you were sitting next to me. We take a picture, and then a week later, you signed with the Pacers, which I know you're a big Reggie Miller fan growing up as well. So I thought it was just awesome to see all that come full circle.
It's crazy, man, because I had no idea at that point either. I was still interested. Who knows? And then a week later, boom, and now it's I go on the buildings here, and it's just it's surreal. It's really surreal, and I love it here. I want to hopefully finish my career here. Just the teammates I have here and the coaches, they're amazing, and I'm enjoying it, every second of it.
So you already knew, from the time that you met me, I'm a diehard Colts fan. Has being in Indiana for the past few years kind of converted you? Because I know you have 49ers allegiance, but has being a part of the culture in Indiana changed you into being more and more of a Colts fan?
I definitely pull for the Colts, man. I definitely pull for them.
That's right.
And I always think of you. I'm like, man, why the hell is Jahenns a Colts fan? This is crazy. But yeah, it's cool because Frank Wright, their coach, comes to a lot of our games, or at least he did when we were able to have fans. And I just really like him as a coach and what he's building. And I think they could upset some people, and I think they could make it a game at Buffalo. I hope they do. And obviously, the fans here are crazy about their Colts.
So that's where you ask, why am I a Colts fan? Obviously Northeast, growing up in Canada, the first NFL game I vividly remember watching was Peyton Manning's rookie year. And then blue being my favorite color, kind of a reason why I chose to go to Creighton as well. It just made it easy to root for that team. So yeah, I've just kind of been a diehard Colts fan ever since, for real.
It's hilarious.
So this brings us to our second part of the fan questions. Dilly Fields is going to put you on the spot immediately here. Who was your favorite Creighton professor? And you have to answer this question.
Who said this? Who was the question from?
It's from a Twitter handle called Dilly Fields. Yeah.
I I would probably have to say Tim Bastion.
Yep.
He's my guy. We still stay in touch a lot. But Todd Darnold's right up there too, another business professor. So many good ones though. I could name a bunch. But those two and guys that I still stay in touch with.
Yeah. The thing about Tim Bastion though, he was such a fan that I was a psychology major, and he was still my favorite professor at Creighton. So.
Yeah, exactly. He just he has a way.
Such a good guy.
Exactly. He makes some of the best wings in Omaha for sure.
Yeah. This question actually comes all the way from Cyprus. It's one of my former teammates when I played for Ammonia over there. His question is, what separates the guys? Oh, his name is Andreas Policarpou. His question is, what separates the guys who make it to the league versus those who don't?
Man, that's a tough question because there's so many good players in the world. There's so many good players that are playing overseas. So I don't want to discredit them because I feel like there's a lot of guys that are playing over there that could probably play in the NBA.
One of the prime examples is Nikola Mirotic, right? Your former teammate. He actually chose to come back to Europe. So no, you're absolutely right about that.
Exactly. And it's really comes down to, I would say, a lot of like timing stuff, a lot of luck. Obviously we're all very talented, but you just have to have the right situation to be able to be successful. And some guys get it, some guys don't. And the guys in the NBA that really take it serious and don't screw it up earlier in their career by partying or, yada, 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 like not working hard, those guys aren't going to last because there's only 300 or 400 jobs for everyone in the world. So it's pretty crazy. And I don't take that for granted. But, there's a lot of good players in this world. And there's a lot of them playing overseas, like where you are in Lithuania and Spain and Italy, and, Germany. So it's a tough one, but the margin, it's close. We all can play.
Yeah. Well, Doug, I want to say thank you very much for being our second guest on the Welcome to Jay podcast hosted by me, Jahenns Manigat. This was Mr. 3000, Mr. McBucket, Douglas Richard McDermott. Thank you, bro, so much. We appreciate you coming on and, kind of sharing basically your entire story with Blue Jay Nation.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate you, brother. And it's always good to see your face. And I like that background, man. That's dope.
Yeah.
I might
need the memories, right? I know this is your favorite spot right here.
Oh, yeah. There's a reason that place isn't there anymore.
Right, for sure. We shut it down, literally.
We shut it.
This was brought to you by the Fearless 68 Digital Network. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us. We have a lot of good content coming up. Once again, thank you, Doug, for joining us. And go Jays.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you. Go Jays.